Welcome to a What's for Dinner video. I am sharing with you 4 dinners that we enjoyed over the past week, and we are starting off with leftovers, and this is a freezer meal. This was a dinner that I made about 2 weeks ago. I made 2 separate things that night because it was one of those dinners that our son doesn't like. There's a lot of sensory issues, and he just doesn't really like spare ribs and broccoli and mashed potatoes. So I made him the penne and peppers and sausage, so he's going to enjoy that. And I wanted to give this a try, so I took the leftovers, I put them in this casserole dish. I had thrifted this quite a while ago. I put press and seal on it and then tinfoil. It's been sitting in my freezer, and tonight was the night I wanted to give it a try. So I took all of the packaging off, put a little bit of water in here so it can steam as it cooks so it doesn't dry out. Put the tinfoil back on into the 400-degree oven. I also have some home fries that I made. I will link any videos that I mentioned down below so you can check them out. And then I'm doing them in the air fryer on reheat for 15 minutes. I should have done them on the stovetop. I find it's easier to kind of keep track of them, add a little bit more liquid if you need to, and then I'm heating up the skillet to heat up the sausage and peppers and pasta. So there's the potatoes, and that was after about 10 minutes, and I should have left them alone because I think they were perfect then. So this is really quick and easy. When I do freezer meals, I like to take things that are left over or actually cook them, because then I just have to reheat them and I know what the texture will be. I don't really do a lot of, full day of just putting stuff into Ziploc bags. I like to take stuff that's already cooked and then kind of reheat it. That's the way I prefer to do it. So here's the finished product. I was actually very happy with it. The broccoli reheated really nicely. The ribs could have used a few more minutes, and the potatoes, I should have done them in the skillet because that way I would have been able to add a little bit liquid, but this was something I wanted to try. It worked out really good, and it's something I'm definitely going to do again whenever there is leftovers. Now I am making homemade pizza. I have the full video on how I make my dough, and I also made this sauce for the first time in that video, and I really, really like it. So I had some in the freezer from when I made it, and now I am all out. So I'm making it again, and I am really sticking to the recipe this time because the last time you were supposed to roast it, and I only did it on the stovetop. So we're just starting off with a little bit of olive oil. We're going to add our onions, a little bit of garlic, and then saute that, and then add our tomatoes to it. I am using these enamel covered cast iron skillets that I got at Costco. I really like them, and I never had luck with using cast iron, and I find it's a little bit easier to work with these. But as you can see here, the temperature is a little bit hard to regulate, especially with the oven that I have. Like, I have 3 burners on here and it's different settings, but I'm getting more used to it, and then eventually I want to get back to like the original black cast iron skillets. But it's one of those things where I really feel like it's trial and error. You need to figure things out, but I'm getting better and better at using them, and hopefully I'll be able to use my black ones. So I'm adding in a can of San Marzano tomatoes, a little bit of sugar, and then I'm also going to add some salt and pepper, some Italian seasoning, and then I'm going to add some oregano, parsley, and a little bit of basil because that is what I like to add to my tomato sauce. And then my oven is preheated to 400 degrees. So after I stir this all together, I'm going to put it into the oven for 30 minutes and let it roast, and then it's really going to thicken up too. And honestly, I always use Rao's marinara as my pizza sauce. And I found when I used this the last time and then the next time I used the Rao's marinara, there was no comparison. I actually preferred just the simplicity of this little bit of tomatoes, a little bit of olive oil, onions, and garlic, and some spices. It was really delicious, and I wanted to see what it's like after roasting it in the oven. Here is what the sauce looks like after the 30 minutes in the oven. It has thickened up. I love the color of it, and it smells amazing. Last time I used my little handheld immersion blender and I wasn't really happy with the consistency of it. So this time I tried it in my little Ninja food processor here to see if I could get it a nice thinner consistency. It's still pretty thick, but I like that there's not the big chunks of everything. And I went ahead and made the first pizza like I always do. It'll be in that other video. And then I really want to make a large batch of this sauce because it is a lot of work that goes into it, and then do the sauce in my blender and then maybe add a little bit of chicken broth or a little bit of red wine to thin it out a little bit. But I'm also experimenting with my second pizza. I'm using my cast iron skillet here. I preheated it. I had the pizza dough ready to go in it, and I'm really excited to give this a try. Just a little bit of bacon, some green peppers, mushrooms, and of course a little bit of cheese, and it will go back into the 500-degree oven for about, 12 to 15 minutes till it looks like a really good pizza. While the pizza's in the oven, I'm going to go ahead and take the rest of the sauce and put it into one of these Ziploc containers, and then we'll be able to enjoy it, a couple of weeks from now whenever I make my next homemade pizza again. And I do want to do a large batch of this. I think it'll definitely be worth it with all the work that goes into it. So I find for my oven, 500 degrees whenever I make homemade pizza, it gets it to the right, the cheese is bubbling. I find the crust is usually perfect, and I was really happy with the way that the crust turned out using the Dutch oven. Now, I know that you can use pizza stones, but I don't really have a place to store them, and I feel like it's just something else you got to kind of make room for in your kitchen. And I've seen so many people use their cast iron skillets. I love the bottom, like preheating it. It was nice and crunchy, but it was still soft throughout. My husband really, really liked the thickness of the crust. Like, it wasn't too thick, but it tasted like something you would get at a pizzeria. But anyways, there is some leftovers, so I'm just going to go ahead and put tin foil, put it away, and then we'll be able to enjoy it on lunch on Saturday and Sunday. And I'm going to go ahead and add this to my freezer inventory. I don't really need to do it because there's only one container and I know that it's out there. This is really kind of getting into the habit of writing everything down that's going to go into the freezer, and especially whenever I go to do a large batch of this sauce. This dinner was a couple of nights later, and I'm going to be making mashed potatoes. This was something I used to make quite often, I think in our first home. I just would buy like the frozen steakette hamburg patties, and I would kind of make like gravy and mushrooms and onions and do it over mashed potatoes. Tonight I'm getting a little inspiration from some HelloFresh recipes. I'll link them down below if you want to look a little bit more at them. It's something I've gotten in the past, and I really like it because I find I learn a lot of things from their recipes. So for tonight, I'm only making mashed potatoes for my husband and I. So I'm only going to go ahead and do 2 potatoes, 1 per person. And I'm just peeling them up. I'm going to go ahead and dice them, get them into the pot, add some water and salt, and get them boiling. And Saturday night, I made sloppy joes. And I've tried a lot of like sloppy joe recipes from scratch, and I don't care what anybody says. It's not as good as manwich. So I had a can of manwich. I had some green peppers left from the pizza. So we had sloppy joes and sweet potato fries on the Saturday night, and there's enough left over for our son tonight because he doesn't like mashed potatoes. He doesn't like the vegetable we're having and then gravy. So he's going to have the leftover sloppy joes. And then I'm also going to take a sweet potato. I'm just going to cut the ends off, peel it, and then I'm going to cut it into fries. A little bit of olive oil, a little bit of salt and pepper, and then I just do it in the air fryer. So he will be able to have that, the sloppy joes, and then some fruit, and then he has dinner, and then I'm going to make a really nice dinner for my husband and I. Dinner for 2, and like I said, the inspiration is from a couple of HelloFresh recipes. I'll link them down below if you want to look at them, but you can definitely make them without using any of the stuff that is sent whenever you get that HelloFresh delivery. Potatoes are on the stovetop. I have my oven preheating to 400 degrees. I'm going to take some onions and mushrooms and go ahead and slice them up. These are kind of my staples, along with peppers, celery and carrots, and then regular potatoes and sweet potatoes. I find if I have them in my home and I can take something from the freezer and the pantry and make something for dinner, you know, even if I don't have a recipe in mind, I just find those are the things that works best for our family. So I took the 1 pound of ground beef, add a little bit of onion, salt, pepper, a little bit of panko, made some patties. And now one of the things that they would do in HelloFresh is they would send a half a package of ground beef. And I think that would have been all I needed tonight. So next time I get my ground beef, I think I might even get some in half pounds. But I just think that's perfect for 2 people, but I did want to have some leftovers for hubby's lunch. So I'm going to brown them up, but I also am going to do a gravy packet. Now, lots of times you can make your own gravy, but I find this is something's a little bit easier. Now, these gravy packets are actually found in like the natural organic aisle because they are vegetarian, but I've used them before and I really like them. I'm also doing 2 packages because I find sometimes one isn't enough because this is going to be kind of 4 servings of dinner. So I'm just taking 2 cups of water. I'm going to go ahead and put the mix in and then just whisk it. But you could definitely take a little bit of beef broth and flour and mix this up ahead of time to make the gravy. So I'm just kind of prepping everything ahead of time, and I'm going to go ahead and brown up the patties just because I'm going to finish them off in the oven. I think it's a little bit quicker and just getting dinner on the table. And oftentimes HelloFresh would do that in a lot of recipes, that you would kind of like cook something on the outside and then put it into the oven. And this way it kind of like browns up the burgers too, and then it can finish in the oven. And then I'm going to go ahead and take like all of the little bits in the pan, and then I'm going to add a little bit of butter, and then I'm going to fry up the onions. And then I'm also going to add in the mushrooms before I move to the next step of this dinner. The potatoes are boiling, the Hamburg patties are finishing off in the oven, and then I'm preheating my other skillet for the vegetables. I'm happy with the way that the onions and mushrooms are, so I'm going to go ahead and add in my gravy mix right now. And this did not take long to thicken up. That's one of the things about using the cast iron. It has such a better like holding the heat compared to any other pan that I would do. So I actually bought some French green beans. I really like them, and they already come clean. So all you have to do is wash them, and they just cut off the one end, and that's all you need to do with this. So I'm just putting it in the other cast iron skillet, a little bit of butter, and then I'm just going to put some water in here and then put a lid on and then just kind of let them cook. This is one of my favorite ways to do green beans, and I learned this from HelloFresh. Same with broccoli, just a little bit of butter, put some water in there, and then it kind of steams it. So I know green beans take a little bit longer. So that way I'll be able to thicken up the gravy, mash my potatoes, and then hopefully everything will come together and the green beans will be cooked perfectly. I feel like I'm getting a facial here with all of the steam, but the beans are cooking up nice. The Hamburg patties, I took them out of the oven, and now I'm just going to put them in with the gravy and the mushrooms and the onions, turn off the heat, and they'll stay nice and warm. The potatoes are almost done, and then just going to check on the green beans. Going to put the pan back in the oven because I don't have a lot of counter space. So they're coming along very nicely. There's just a little bit of water left at the bottom, but they are definitely steaming up really nice. I love that vibrant green color when I cook them this way. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my little hand mixer, a little bit of butter, a little bit of cream, and then I'm just going to go ahead and whip up my potatoes here. And I'm hoping there's a little bit left over for one of my husband's lunches, but if there isn't, that's okay. But that's one of the things is I've always made too much mashed potatoes in the past, and 1 potato per person, that's usually what they say, and I went with a little bit bigger ones than what I normally do. So I'm just going to go ahead and get everything plated up. I love to do this. Our son already ate. He enjoyed the sloppy joe and everything. So they sat at the table while I was cooking, and now I'm just going to finish off dinner for us. And I really like plating stuff up. I think this is kind of like all of the hard work that you do in the kitchen. I hope you enjoyed, me sharing the whole process with you, but I really enjoy sometimes getting creative and, trying different things in the kitchen. And I really like when I take things that I learned from other recipes and make it work. Like before I would make this with, frozen steakette patties and, making all of these other little things. So the future would be to make my own gravy mix. And then with the green beans, I really want to plate it up. And, when I sit down to dinner, is this something that I would enjoy? Would this be something I would pay for in a restaurant? I like to do this like once or twice a week. I think presentation is really important. And I think it came together really good. I'm very happy with this delicious home-cooked meal, and it definitely is a comfort food tonight. It looks really nice. Of course, Hunter's making sure I didn't miss anything. My husband really, really enjoyed it. So the beans were absolutely perfect. This is one of my favorite vegetables. And then this is the leftovers. This one here has a little bit of mashed potatoes. The other one is just the green beans and the patties. And he's going to have lunch for a couple of days. So really good dinner. And I am very happy the way it turned out. We are having quick and easy tonight. A goat cheese and caramelized onion ravioli. I got it at Costco. I didn't really know when I was going to make it, and this is one of those things where this is a quick, easy dinner, and then I got out a HelloFresh recipe card because this is a really simple kind of Alfredo sauce, and I also have my mushrooms and onions, so I'm going to be using them again for this recipe, and this is get dinner on the table. Quick tonight, everybody's going to eat it, and this is like a 30-minute dinner, so right now it's 5:06, so I have my cast iron preheating again, getting it all hot and ready, and then gonna bring the water up to a boil. There's some salt in here, and then once again just using the onions and mushrooms. I wish that I would have had some spinach. I didn't take any meat out. I honestly thought I was gonna have more time in the afternoon, and that kind of seems to be the new normal for me. And some nights this is what I have to do, so it's not gonna be like, a side salad or bread or something on the side. I'm just trying to get dinner on the table and work with what I have. And that's one of the things where I always like to pick up little things like this at Costco, ravioli, or if something's on sale. I just find it helps in the future. Now, the only thing that I would change is I would definitely use more mushrooms and onions, because when I originally planned to do this, I was only going to use one package of the pasta. But then as I put it into the pot, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to cook two because I really want to have some leftovers, but I knew that it wouldn't be enough mushrooms. So while I'm slicing this, I'm also looking over the recipe to see exactly what I have to do, because I need to get dinner on the table by 5:30 because that's what the schedule says, and I got to stick to it. So anyways, prepping a little bit here, just getting all of the vegetables, and then we're going to move to the stovetop, adding in a tablespoon of butter, got the lid on, waiting for the water to come to a boil, and then once again, I'm just going to go ahead and saute the mushrooms and the onions. I'm just off to the side now, and in the past I would pick up jars of Alfredo sauce and I would dump the whole jar in. Everything would be really saucy, and that's one of the things I've learned is you don't need a lot of ingredients to make a really nice sauce. So I just have 3/4 of a cup of heavy cream, and then you're going to use soy sauce. The water's boiling, so I got to get the pasta in here, and then I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't know if this is enough for 3 people because we're not going to have any salad or bread or anything to go with it. So that's when I made the judgment call to add in the next one, and it kind of threw me off with everything. But I'm going to dump that in here, and then this is only going to take 3 minutes. And I should have turned the water down right then because it definitely made a little bit of a mess with boiling over. But anyways, that's in. I got to get back into the other side here. So I'm happy with the onions and mushrooms, and I just didn't have time to slice up more mushrooms and, get the right amount. So I'm adding in the cream right now, and because it's heavy cream, it's already thick, and then it's going to thicken up even more. Just going to season it with a little bit of salt and pepper, maybe a little bit of garlic powder. And then I wasn't too sure, I could have put some Parmesan cheese in here too, I could have grated some up. And then you're also supposed to add a tablespoon of soy sauce. I didn't add it till later, but I'm also reserving just a little bit of the pasta water just in case I needed it, because that would help thicken it up too. So there is the water getting ready to boil over and everything. So I got that taken care of, and then I'm just going to go ahead and add in the soy sauce right now. Just gives the sauce a little bit of color and then a little kick of flavor too. And I'm just got to get this ravioli kind of taken care of. So the thing with our son is he doesn't always like the white sauce. So I think it's like 518 right now. So the pasta is going to be hot. The pan is hot. So I just put a little bit of the Rayo's marinara in here. And then I'm just going to take some of the pasta and stir it in. So that way I know he's going to eat it. Some nights I'll push a little bit more to try and get him to try new things. But this was one of those nights where I just want to get dinner on the table. I know there's going to be a lot of cleanup on the stovetop with the pasta and everything boiling over. I really just wanted to get dinner on the table. And that's really what I'm trying to share with you. I'm cooking this as I'm preparing it for my family. I'm not doing it to kind of give you guys ideas. I really want to share with you what I'm doing in the kitchen. And sometimes you're in a time crunch, and sometimes things work out and sometimes they don't. And I want to keep it real because there's nothing worse than whenever you take the time and do something in the kitchen and it doesn't always turn out. It can be frustrating, and I just want to let you know you are all not alone when that happens. So it's 5:21. There was enough sauce. I didn't have to add the pasta water. My husband, he's like, that sauce looks really good. And I said, do you want it? And he's like, no, it's okay. So once again, we're going to get everything plated up. We're going to finish it off with a little bit of fresh Parmesan cheese. And I was wanting to do a little bit more with this, but once again, different things came up, and I was still thankful that I was able to make dinner, get it on the table, a really nice simple sauce for us, and using a little bit of the Rayo's marinara to help make a nice dinner that I knew that our son would eat. And it just makes for a really enjoyable sitting down as a family, enjoying each other's company and just enjoying a delicious meal. A little bit of cheese and dried parsley. It's nothing fancy. I just find it's that little bit of presentation that goes a little bit further after you've worked hard in the kitchen. You want to sit down and say, wow, this looks really good. It's 5:27. I got a mess to clean up, but thankfully I have leftovers, and here's everything. Everybody enjoyed it. It was delicious. It was really good, and it was simple. A little bit of butter, mushrooms, onions, some cream, some salt, pepper, garlic. Mix it all together, and it comes up with a delicious dinner. I was thankful to have that ravioli in the fridge, and we also have some leftovers. So I hope that you enjoyed these 4 dinners. I will hopefully be making more of these in the future, but as long as I feel like I want to film, I will try and do my best to share more of these. So thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day, and we will talk to you all very soon.